Hey everyone, Mr. DVB here. So today I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts and opinions on Call of Duty Black Ops 4, which is the newest game in the highly popular first-person shooter series created by Activision. So when it comes to the Call of Duty series, I've been a fan ever since I first played Modern Warfare 2 all the way back in 2010. Ever since then I've played each of their games except for Infinite Warfare, and I've liked each of them in their own way, but I haven't loved a Call of Duty game since Black Ops 2, which came out all the way back in 2006. And when Black Ops 4 was initially announced, I really wasn't that interested, especially because it was completely ditching the traditional 5-hour campaign that the series is known for, instead, replacing that with the new trend of Battle Royale. And when it comes to Battle Royale, I'm not a very huge fan of the whole genre. I don't really care for Fortnite or PUBG. I've tried them, I've given them my chance, and I just don't really care for them that much. So when the mode was announced, I really wasn't that interested, but after playing the game, I have to say that Blackout is without a doubt my favorite Battle Royale in a game to date. I absolutely love the new mode. It is by far the best thing in this game. So the map is obviously large as heck because this is Battle Royale. You do have 100 players on this map, which is just insane for Call of Duty, which is used to having, 18 players or whatever. So having a map this huge with this many players and vehicles for the very first time that you can actually find and get into, like helicopters, ATVs, giant trucks where you can carry your friends in the back. This is something completely new and different for Call of Duty, and I think they've done a fantastic job with their first time introducing us into the series. It's just such an amazing thing seeing all these things being finally incorporated into the series. That's kind of the thing I've always liked more about Battlefield, is the vehicles and the larger maps. But now that Call of Duty has this is honestly competing with Battlefield for me right now. And with Black Ops 5 having all that stupid controversy behind it, I'd say that Black Ops 4 is definitely like the shooter of this year for me personally. I'm absolutely loving every moment that I've played of the game so far. I think Blackout is such a great add-on to the game. And honestly, I think sacrificing campaign for this is actually a pretty good choice, because you play the campaign once, maybe it's good, maybe it's not, and once that's done, you kind of don't play it anymore. But, having this mode was a really smart choice in my opinion. So, let's talk with the pros about the mode. Like I said, it's huge and you have tons of players, but there's also a ton of weapons you can come across, and I haven't come across any weapons that I actually dislike. They all feel pretty balanced, they all do a great amount of damage, and even the shotguns are pretty good for the most part. I haven't come across a shotgun that I get pissed off about because, oh great, I'm not going to be able to kill anybody with this. Like, you're going to have your chances to get people down and everything, and playing with your friends is super great here. It's an experience I love, because Call of Duty isn't necessarily known for, playing with your friends. Like, when you're playing team deathmatch, you're not really focusing and, spawning with your friends and going after people. But with this mode, you're sticking with them the entire time, and it gives it that cooperative experience that the series has never really been known for. There is no 50 versus 50 game mode yet for Blackout, which is a little bit of a disappointment, but I'm hoping it's integrated in the future. I imagine it will be, since PUBG or I don't know if PUBG does it, but I know Fortnite does, so I imagine they'll probably add that in the future. I think that would be really, really cool for this mode. And, just in general, winning matches and even getting a kill is just a super great feeling in Blackout, because you really feel like you're doing a good job, and coming across vehicles and everything is awesome. Obviously, you do have, the traditional storm that will kill you over time. There's also zombies on the map, though, which is great. This is incorporating different elements from all types of Call of Duty. You have zombies just roaming around certain areas of the map. You have huge classic areas from previous Black Ops games, such as Nuketown, Turbine, Cargo, Raid, and many others making their appearance here, so you can actually find tons of classic maps integrated into this one huge one, and that was something I absolutely loved coming across, because Black Ops 2 had some really classic maps, and finding them here is awesome. As far as multiplayer goes, regular multiplayer itself is pretty much the same traditional Call of Duty multiplayer as always, with all the modes you're used to, like Team Deathmatch, Free-for-All, etc. Making its return from Black Ops 3 is the 10 class system, where you're basically choosing 10 different types of things you want for that specific class. So, this is choosing your primary weapon, all the attachments you want from it, the perks you want, all that kind of stuff. So you're going to have to choose wisely, and this is something that wasn't in World War II, obviously, as that was developed by Sledgehammer. So it's cool to have that back here. It just reminds you of the previous Call of Duties, and it's something you're going to be used to right off the bat. One thing that was kind of different, though, is they do bring back specialists from Black Ops 3. For those who don't know what specialists are, it's basically just types of characters where they each have their own abilities. So they might have one guy that can use a grapple hook and he can kind of, move around the map. So that's something they brought back here. This game is also completely boots on the ground, so there's no exosuits or anything. Like I said, there is a grapple hook you can use, but there is a recharge rate on it. It's not like you're going to be just using it constantly like the exosuits in the previous games. So this is going back to boots on the ground, and this does feel a lot like Black Ops 2 with the look and everything else. As far as the gameplay goes, it's the same as every other Call of Duty. I mean, the gunplay here feels great. You do have health bars above players' heads returning from Infinite Warfare. I didn't play that game, but I know that was in there. It's not included in the Blackout mode, though. There is no health bars in Blackout. So yeah, I like the specialists here. They're all pretty good in my opinion. They're not as interesting as they were in Black Ops 3. I think Black Ops 3 had, some really cool specialists, and those aren't necessarily here because this does take place between 2 and 3. So this isn't as futuristic as 3 was. Other things here are like the abilities that you would use for specialists. Usually in the previous game it was you could only choose one of the two abilities that specialists have, and you'd eventually, when they've recharged, you would press L1 and R1, or left bumper and right bumper at the exact same time, and that would activate your ability. Here, you get 3 abilities per character, and this actually takes away your grenades. So there's no grenades in this game until you reach like level 48, I think, and that's when you can actually, unlock the frag grenade, and you can use that to swap out whatever ability you don't want from that class. That's something I'm not a huge fan of. I think that you should still be able to use your grenades here. Typically, I don't use them that much, but I just think it's something that's a little bit weird not having, any types of grenades to use until you're a really high level, especially 48, which in my opinion is really high for the use of a grenade. There is kind of a lack of weapons and secondaries in this game, I noticed. There's only like 4 different types of grenades or something like that, and there's not that many weapons per class. Like I said, all the weapons are actually pretty darn good here, but I just think there is quite a lack of weapons here, and that kind of fits into the overall game, which I do think this game does have a little bit lacking of content. There obviously isn't a campaign, and I think that since this game takes place after Black Ops 2 and, before Black Ops 3, they could have used that timeline to kind of finish off what the first 2 Black Ops games have created. So I do think that's the one thing that does kind of suck about not having a campaign this time around. There are a ton of maps returning from previous Black Ops games. They might be named something different, but you'll know the layout, you'll know the look and everything. And that means that the new maps aren't really that unique in my opinion. None of the new maps really surprised me. I didn't, go into these maps and say, hey, this is kind of a new classic. They all feel kind of average, and nothing that special comes from these maps. So overall, I would say that the multiplayer is, great as always. It's still tons of fun. The gameplay here is great, but I just think the, ununique maps and the lack of weapons is definitely a little bit of a letdown here. Finally, we have Zombies, which is Treyarch's classic mode. They first integrated this into the games back in World at War back in, I think, 2008. So this is, something that they're definitely known for. None of the other Call of Duty companies like Sledgehammer or Infinity Ward do anywhere near as good of a job that Treyarch does when it comes to Zombies. So this time around, we're given 3 maps, which is great. Back in Black Ops 3, we only had 1 map, which was Shadows of Evil, and I thought that was a fantastic map, but it was just 1 map, and you were stuck with that until the DLCs came out. Here, they're giving us 3 maps. One of them is actually a remake of my favorite map in zombie history. Returning from Black Ops 2, we have Mob of the Dead, which takes place on Alcatraz Prison. It's remade in a few ways. The layout's a little bit different, but it's kind of the same for the most part. You do spawn in a different area, though, and it's now titled Blood of the Dead. And I do really love this map overall. I think it's really cool. There's also a map located on the Titanic, which was a really interesting and cool location for a map. It's not my favorite map. It's probably my least favorite of the 3 that are introduced here, but I do like the fact that you have to be really cautious on this map because all the hallways are very narrow, obviously, since you're on this huge cruise ship, so there's not that much room to kind of run around and have zombies chase you and stuff. You're gonna be in these really narrow hallways, and you're gonna have to be cautious of what's going on behind you and in front of you. So that's something I really liked. So it does make it actually kind of a more difficult map. And the third and final map is titled 9, and it takes place in this ancient arena where you have all these different temples representing different locations, such as Egypt and Rome. So you'll have zombies that might be, dressed up as kind of Egyptians or Roman gladiators or stuff like that. It was really cool. I actually really like that idea behind it. The map is really awesome. It's not that big compared to the other 2, so you're gonna be able to find out the layout pretty easily, and it's actually quite an easy map as well. I'm typically getting to around 30 on here, which is quite high for, just starting out this game. So I do think this is definitely easier. It's really easy to find the Pack-a-Punch and everything, so really good map overall. So overall, I'd say Zombies is great as always. I don't like any of the maps as much as I did Shadows of Evil. I think that was a really great map for just, being brought into the game. But I do think there is a great variety here, so you'll be able to find one that, you're definitely going to love and you'll stick to. So overall, Black Ops 4 is definitely the most fun I've had in the series since Black Ops 2, which was, all the way back in 2012. The new take on Battle Royale is my personal favorite to date, like I said. I think that this is just super fun and entertaining. Seeing vehicles and a large map in Call of Duty for the first time is great. The normal multiplayer is still, great as always. You're still going to have a ton of fun. I do think there's a little bit of a lack of weapons here, and some of the decisions I did with the specialists I'm not necessarily a huge fan of. And like I said, the maps aren't all that unique, but I still love the gameplay here, and it's still going to last you a long time. The only major negative I would say with this game is the lack of a single-player campaign, and since this game does take place before Black Ops 3, like I said, I think they could have used, a few hours, maybe a 5 or 6 hour long campaign to kind of finish off what the first two Black Ops games have started. So overall, guys, I'm going to give this game a 9.2 out of 10. I do think this is the best Call of Duty game in years, and I highly recommend you check it out. So there you go, guys. Those are my thoughts and opinions on Call of Duty Black Ops 4.